One pretty big tech category every year is phones. And some companies have released quite a bit of phones. You have Apple, you have Samsung, you have Google as well. But there's other companies that also release some good phones, and it's worth knowing about them before you make your purchase this year to maybe gift some phones to other people or get a new phone for yourself. Let's get into it. It's new tech for the holidays 2020 phone edition. Slight PSA before we really get into this, I am going to be mentioning some older phones every now and again throughout this video, just because it is perfectly fine to be excited about getting the previous models of a phone, because phones have been good for quite a while. It's worth talking about. First up, let's talk about some gaming phones, and with this, we're going to start with Asus. The ROG Phone 3 is their third iteration of this phone, and as you may have figured, it is the best one so far. We're talking about everything in a kitchen sink is inside this phone. This is basically a gaming laptop in your pocket now. You have 16 gigs of RAM, 144 Hz screen, a 1080p screen even though it is 144 Hz, and of course RGB, because you know that makes everything a little bit faster. Even though the camera is just decent, we don't buy gaming phones for the camera anyways. However, the hardware in general does match the price of $1,000. But if that price is a little bit too much for you, the next phone we're going to talk about might be just up your alley. Let's talk about Blu. The Blu G90 Pro is Blu's attempt at a gaming phone, and it is a pretty decent package, not to mention the price, which is around $220. So for that, you're getting a decent budget gaming phone that has a 1080p display, 5100 milliamp hour battery, 128 gigs of storage, and about 4 gigs worth of RAM. One thing I do want to point out is that years ago when I had a Blu phone, you can find the reviews on the channel here, they had some quality issues. So I'm hoping now in 2020, it's been a very long time, they've still been making phones the entire time, that they worked out all those quality issues and you'll be getting an actual reliable phone. From this point on, assume that every phone that I mentioned is 5G capable, because apparently that is all it's about this year. LG is a brand that's been known for some pretty good phones and even some crazy dual screen phones, but they've not been the actual pick for high-end phones for quite a while now, but that hasn't really slowed them down at all. The LG Velvet 5G is a pretty interesting phone. First off, there is a pretty neat thing that T-Mobile was able to pull off thanks to a new MediaTek chip that allows them to combine the LTE and the 5G, the mid 5G band, in order to make the faster 5G speeds specifically on the LG Velvet phone. So it's the only phone right now that can actually do this. And of course, this is not a software upgrade, or it's not done by software, it's done by hardware. That means that in order for more phones to take advantage of it, they'll either have to use the MediaTek processor, or Qualcomm had to step up and make a chip that is tailored to the T-Mobile network in order for their phones to take advantage of this as well. Now, besides that, the LG Velvet phone is actually not a bad phone for about $600. You get a 6.8-inch 1080p display, a 4,000 mAh battery, and 6 gigs of RAM. Now, if you're looking for a Qualcomm phone from LG, let's talk about the LG V60 Thin Q, and this is also goes for the Thin Q dual screen variants. It's essentially the same phone, except for the dual screen has that, that case that has the extra screen that comes with it. This is what I'm talking about when it comes to LG and their weird dual screen concept phones that they tend to come out with all the time. What this phone is actually pretty interesting. It is packing a Qualcomm Snapdragon 865, so the top of the line processor. It's capable of 8K recording. It is a 1080p screen, even though it is also, and that includes the dual screen if you're getting the dual screen variant. And of course, it's also packing a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So it is a pretty good phone for about $700, so not too expensive either. It doesn't push past that $1,000 price point. The one thing about it is that it kind of forces you into a bit of a weird choice here, because remember, we just talked about the LG Velvet 5G. It now comes down to, do you want the Qualcomm Snapdragon performance that we're all come to know and love when it comes to the performance that those chips put out in pretty much any phone they're put into? Or do you want the faster data speeds from the LG Velvet, which is a brand new thing, but you kind of have to choose between these two phones now. For me specifically, I have Wi-Fi in my home, and I'm pretty much remote most of the time now. I don't really leave out the house that much. And this LG V60 is also 5G capable, as I've said before not too long ago. So I'm not really missing out on much. I think I'll just weigh more on my Wi-Fi, get the V60 for the Qualcomm chip, and do it that way. For you guys, it might be a little different. If you're on the go most of the time and you're always out and about, then maybe the LG Velvet is better for you so you can take advantage of faster data speeds no matter where you are. Now, we can't talk about the LG without talking about their latest crazy phone, which is the LG Wing. Now, I call it crazy, but I actually think it's a pretty awesome phone. The LG Wing is their best iteration of a dual screen phone to date so far. The lot of work that they put into the software is what makes this whole wing thing that they're doing with sliding the screen, to the side, not just a gimmick. And that's what gets me pretty excited about it. The only thing that sucks about this whole thing is, as much as I love this phone, first off, it is a Verizon exclusive, which is a shame, me being a T-Mobile guy. And then secondly, it's $1,000. Now, if you take away the whole wing thing that it's doing right now, the actual sliding of the dual screens and all that, and you look at the specs of the phone, it seems more like a $700 or less phone instead of a $1,000 phone. Essentially, you're paying a premium for that concept of the actual wing motion and sliding the screens. Now let's talk about Google. Google has taken a step back from making the $1,000 phones that they were starting to be known for. Maybe they can see now that for their particular phones, a cheaper price kind of suits them a little bit better. So now that they have a lineup which peaks at $700 and goes down from there. So the Pixel 5 comes with 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs worth of storage, and you can still expect the same great 12 megapixel classic camera that Google has been using for quite a while now. But now it is also going to come with a 16 megapixel ultra wide lens, which we all know Google was adamant that people didn't need ultra wide and telephoto was more important. Let's be thankful they did come to their senses. Now, the Pixel 4a 5G also has pretty much the same package, except for when it comes down to the Pixel 4a non-5G, you're going to be missing a few things here. You're not going to get the ultra-wide camera lens, and you're also going to get a bit of a smaller battery as well. OnePlus might be shifting away from the whole flagship killer thing that they started, but their lineup couldn't be any stronger. And they also added in, finally, another phone that comes in at a bit of a lower price option, which is the OnePlus Nord. All three phones come with the options of having either 8 or 12 gigs of RAM or 128 or 256 gigs of storage, which is pretty cool. There are some differences worth pointing out, however, like the Nord is packing the Snapdragon 765G processor, while the other two phones are packing the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865. And of course, the 8 Pro is a 1440p screen, whereas the other two phones are 1080p. Also, the AT is capable of 144Hz refresh rate, while the other two phones are 90Hz refresh rate phones. All still good as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you're bummed about the OnePlus Nord not being available in America right now or in other places of the world, do remember that the OnePlus 7 Pro is still a thing, and it's actually cost about the same price as the OnePlus Nord brand new, which is about $500, and it's essentially the exact same phone. The only difference is that the OnePlus 7 Pro is a 4G phone, whereas the current lineup of OnePlus right now are all 5G. As MKBHD pointed out about Samsung in his S20 FE review, Samsung now pretty much covers pretty much every price point you could imagine for trying to buy a phone. So I won't dare try to cover the entire lineup that Samsung has available this year. Instead, I'll focus on more of the more popular lineups that they have, and excluding the Z lineup, because that is more for a niche audience with slightly deeper pockets that are just looking for the bleeding edge of phones. Now, the S20 series is arguably the most popular lineup for Samsung, with the S20 FE starting that line at about $700, then it goes up from there to the S20 Ultra that is around $1,400, a pretty big jump. Now, the S20 FE is kind of the plastic version of the S20, the same 1080p 120Hz display, but it has a bit of a worse camera. And I was also under the belief that this version of the phone was always going to have a Qualcomm chip in it, but that turns out to not be true. Apparently, there is Samsung S20 FE phones out there across seas that are coming with the Exynos chip, unfortunately. Meanwhile, the Note 20 Ultra is kind of clashing with the S20 Ultra. It's a little bit weird for customers right now to kind of choose between the two, because they're essentially the same phone, except for the Note 20 Ultra comes with the pen and the S20 Ultra does not. Okay, Editor Esh here. I just realized that I blasted through a bunch of Samsung stuff and didn't actually give you guys a lot of specs. So let's start off quickly with the S20. You get a 4000 mAh battery, 128 gigs worth of storage, and a Snapdragon 865, and you also get 12 gigs of RAM. Now when it comes to the Note 20 Ultra, you get a 4500 mAh battery, a choice of 128 gigs worth of storage and 12 gigs of RAM, or 512 gigs of storage and 12 gigs of RAM, and then you get the Snapdragon 865 Plus. Now coming over to the Galaxy S20 Ultra, you get 5000 mAh battery, a choice of a 128 or 512 gigs worth of storage, Snapdragon 865, 12 or 16 gigs worth of RAM. This is why I said that essentially the S20 Ultra and the Note 20 Ultra are the exact same phone. It's a little bit weird for you guys right now, but remember that the thought process, the purpose of these lineups is kind of still the same. So if you're someone who needs to get work done, likes to do a lot of business things, note taking, things of that matter on your phone, the Note lineup is probably more for you. Whereas if you're someone who is more of a content creator that does not take, not need a pen to take a bunch of notes and all that kind of stuff, maybe you're filming videos, you're doing a lot of other content creation with your phone, I would probably sway you more towards the S20 lineup for that. If you're someone who is on a budget, however, don't forget about the Samsung A series. The A series lineup is filled with a bunch of good budget phones that are not just dumb phones, but actually decent smartphones that cover all your basic needs for a smartphone. And it starts off at $99 and goes up from there. So don't forget to check out that series no matter which carrier you happen to be using. You guys don't know that Apple just announced their iPhone 12 lineup, and it is dropping actually on the 23rd. That is this coming Friday from when I'm filming this video right now. If you guys actually want an iPhone 12 with all of its power in a much smaller package, don't forget that the iPhone 12 mini is actually coming out a little bit later than the current iPhone 12 phones that's dropping on Friday. All the new iPhones is coming with an upgraded camera and also packing the new A14 Bionic chip. You guys know the special thing about this chip is this is going to be the chip that's going to be flowing into lots of different Apple devices, as Apple is now shifting away from using other branded CPUs like they used to use Intel and all that, and they're now going to be packing all their devices with their own CPUs. So everyone is pretty excited for the performance boost from that because it's kind of well known that that chip is pretty good. The specs are the same for pretty much all the iPhone 12 variants except for the Pro version, which allows you to have up to 512 gigs of storage, and it's also going to come with a telephoto lens. Now if you're looking to upgrade your iPhone that's a few generations old, go ahead and look at some of the previous recent models of iPhones from the iPhone 10 and iPhone 11 lineup and see if you can find yourself a good deal. Those phones are still good. And that about wraps up our phone edition of New Tech for the Holidays to 2020. I hope you guys did find it useful and entertaining. Yes, there's of course many more phones we could have mentioned here, but these are just the ones that I find was worth talking about right now. Keep your eyes out for deals for all these phones, and of course keep on coming back to this video where you can find all the information for all these phones in a nice little neat package right here. Don't forget to check out the description box for links to for more information for all of these phones as well, and different product pages for all of them. And of course, if you have any questions about the phones that you're currently using right now, or questions about what we talked about today, the comment box is down there as well. If you want to stick around, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more tech videos coming at you all the time. And I am streaming over on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Eshcole. The link will also be down in the description box. Hope to see you over there to just hang out with us as I'm playing some games and rambling, all that kind of stuff. You have a good one. See you. Bye. By the way, for those of you who made it all the way to the end of the video, what do you think of the look so far? I got a feedback on my last video, just a slight critique that maybe more light was needed and I was underexposed. So I had a light right above me, redid some things, put a little bit of RGB behind me. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment box below as well. I'll be looking for it.